Listen.
Welcome to the Brian for Mayor Digital Battle Bus. Welcome to Battle Bus Live. I am Brian Rose, and we are live in the back of the Digital Battle Bus. Today, touring the boroughs of Kensington and Chelsea, of course, Hammersmith and Fulham, and Westminster as well. Super excited to be in these boroughs. I'm literally going by Gloucester Road as we speak down in SW7, and it's great to be back here in the boroughs of London. Really out here digitally campaigning. We're super excited. And again, right now I'm in the home of the Museum Quarter right here in South Kensington, which of course includes some of my favorite museums, the Science Museum, where I took my dad about 12 years ago when he was in town. I love the steam engines in there. I took my son Caden there to see the space vehicles recently, which was amazing. Of course, there's the Victoria and Albert Museum, which is incredible, but the Natural History Museum, that's where it really is a big one in my house because my boys love dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are the thing, and I took them to the Natural History Museum about 3 months ago. We saw the real live T-Rex move around. We saw all the dinosaurs. That's the home of the Hammersmith, the death of Ziggy Stardust back in the day. So thank you, Hammersmith, for everything you bring us. And of course, Westminster, it's the home of the National. And of course, the Palace of Westminster houses both the House of Commons and the House of Lords. We've had both of their members on my show, London Real, and we really appreciate all the hard work they're doing over there. Of course, we could always work harder, and we'll be talking about some of those issues today. It's also the home of Westminster Abbey, where Sir Isaac Newton is buried, Stephen Hawking is buried. Of course, the Queen had her coronation ceremony. Also, I took my daughter last week. We have been to every single one of the 32 boroughs. We've logged over 1,000 miles on this digital battle bus. Somebody didn't even believe me when I told them that yesterday. We could have gone all the way up to Scotland and back and still had some extra room left. We've done that many miles here in the city, and I'm super excited. Yesterday, we were live on RT, the television station, and they were asking us all about this incredible battle bus and all the things we've been doing, and we're super excited to be here. One of the things I want to talk about today is a bunch of the issues in these local boroughs. And one of the things that most people are frustrated with are these LTNs, these low traffic neighborhoods. Now, they were designed with great ideas in mind with these green initiatives, but the truth is they are failing the citizens on a local level. Our mayor is completely out of touch with the damage he's doing. And I heard this firsthand when I dropped by Ealing a few days ago to drop off some food for the St. John's Food Bank. I met with Alan Simpson, who does an incredible job there providing food to the people in need. And as I was getting back on the bus, a guy named Mark, who had traveled blocks over because he heard I was there, voiced his frustration, actually in a socially distanced way, about how the LTNs were ruining his neighborhood. And the truth is, that people, right now, the LTNs are fining people when they go to try to visit family members. They're stopping ambulance from emergencies. We had an ex-ambulance driver on my live stream 2 days ago that said this is a real issue that we're experiencing. He said it can triple the time needed to get to a patient, and that's enough to lose someone from a cardiac arrest. This is real, and it's not being talked about. The next thing it does, these LTNs, is it's bankrupting businesses because there's a lack of footfall and traffic, and it's also increasing emissions. And so we need to talk about these things, and I want to talk about with you what's happening here. Also, people are very frustrated with the local councils who seem to be generating tax revenues on the back of these LTMs, of course, the congestion charges and parking fines. And Westminster, one of the boroughs we're going through as we speak, generated almost a £70 million profit last year based on the taxation of its own citizens. Kensington and Chelsea realized a £39 million profit, and my borough of Camden, where I live, made a £29 million profit by taxing the citizens. And again, this just shows me again how much the mayor is out of touch with the citizens of London. I'm sorry, but these LTNs, these schemes were not meant or designed to raise money from the citizens. Our GDP is down 11%. People are going out of business. Their savings are dwindling, and now they're being taxed in this time. Well, what they really need is help from their government, and they need to get London back to work. And so I want to talk about these issues today. I want to hear from you, but the mayor is out of touch. He's on the top floor of this glass building. He comes up with these schemes does a press release, has a great moment, talks about green initiatives, and then we are left to pick up the pieces in the neighborhoods. It's frustrating, and I'm frustrated as well. So I want to get questions from you. First of all, I want to say we are being joined live today via video link with Zoom, and I'm looking at a bunch of the faces here. It's great to see everyone here. I see John Grady, I see Eric Nalvin, I see we got Sylvia Frey here. I see so many people that are joining us live, and we're going to be going to your video comments soon. I really appreciate everybody for showing up here today, and we're also going to be going to your questions on Instagram, on YouTube, on all of our streaming networks. Again, we want to be ultimately transparent here. No other politician would dare to come live, take your questions in real time, and find solutions that you're facing in your borough. Again, let me ask you one thing. Do me a favor. Ask me hard questions today. That's what I want. I don't claim to have the answer to everything, but I do claim to be able to figure out the solution. I've had experts from all sorts of fields coming to me saying, Brian, I want to help you. We see your passion. We can see that you're trying to promote the goodness of this city, and we want to be with you. We want to back you up on your plan to build affordable housing. We want to back you up on your plans to make sure TfL actually turns a profit. What a crazy concept there. We want to back you up on your plans to solve knife crime, and we love your idea of getting London back to work, because when we strengthen the economy, we strengthen all things. And I appreciate everybody being here. Do me a favor right now and answer these following questions. Type it in wherever you're at. If you're on Zoom, type this into the chat, and I'm going to try to pull as many of you as possible in here on video to ask me a question. First of all, tell me, what borough do you live in? What is the biggest challenge, and what question would you like me to ask me when I visit you? Second thing, I want you to tell me, are you frustrated with LTNs? Are you frustrated with these low traffic networks? Are you frustrated by how the mayor has not only increased your congestion charge from £11.50 to £15, but also he's expanded? Are you frustrated with the ULEZ expansion? Are you frustrated with these traffic and parking fines that these boroughs are using to turn a profit on the back of you? And are you frustrated with how the mayor is using citizens to raise money? And do you think he is totally out of touch with the citizens of London? Next, do you think that free and fair elections should be allowed to take place on May 6th? We believe they will, and that's why we're out here campaigning. And finally, do you think we need new leadership for London? Do we need a new vision? And do we need new ideas to take our city in a new direction? So again, type in your questions right now. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm going to be pulling a bunch of you here live on video with me soon. But just to bring you up to speed, we are on the digital battle bus. It's actually the most COVID-secure campaign vehicle in history. We've been so excited to put this thing together, and we've been traveling through every single borough in London, like I said, logging over 1,000 miles. Unfortunately, about 10 or 12 days ago, we were stopped by the police. I was walking down the middle of the street, talking into my phone, filming a video. I was completely social distanced. We had permits to park and film there, and suddenly I was surrounded by 10 City of London police officers. They arrived in 5 police vans. I just didn't know what to think. The video has gone viral. You can watch it on my YouTube channel. 500,000 views, over 500,000 views. And they proceeded to stop me, detain me, fine me and my crew, and ban me from campaigning. And something really sat with me there, and I thought, I feel like this is a criminal action to ban the campaigning that would result in free and fair elections. And so we pushed back, and we created this 5-page letter with my legal team and sent it to the 3 main police commissioners in this city. They've all received it and acknowledged it, and we went back out on the road in the face of fear, potentially getting arrested, fined again. But we thought it was really important to get out to these boroughs and fulfill our promise to come and see you locally. And again, I was asked this yesterday on live television by Bill Dodd on RT, and he said, Brian, he said, why do you feel the need to get on a bus and do this? Why don't you just do this from your bedroom at home? And I said, Bill, it's different. When I'm actually here, I can look down and see the boarded up businesses. I can see the pain and anger and frustration on people's faces. I can see that the children that are locked inside their homes because they can't get back to their schools. I can see what's happening here, and every borough has its unique challenges. What we're doing here is, first of all, 100% COVID secure. Second of all, it's important that the future mayor of London is in these boroughs, and I think he actually agreed with me by the end of the broadcast. So that's why we're out here. Again, this bus is completely 100% COVID secure. It's doused with an antiviral fog every night. Everyone has their temperature checked when they come in. We use hand sanitizer. We use face masks. And again, this is the same protocols that are being used right now on film productions in London, right now on film and television productions. So we're doing everything by the book. which is why, in my opinion, we have not been stopped, arrested, or detained by the police in the last 2 weeks, at least nothing serious. So we're excited. We think democracy must be preserved, and I think someone's listening because it looks as if in 90 days, free and fair elections will take place on May 6th. We think it's happening in London. We're super excited, and we were just happy to be a part of this free and fair election process and that the democratic process is proceeding forward. So we're very excited for this. I just want to say one final thing. I've been getting hundreds of messages every single day saying, Brian, when will Sadiq Khan debate you? And it's a great question. I have asked the mayor, when would you like to do this? You can do it on my show, London Real. We can do it on mainstream media. We can do it on a Zoom call, anytime, anyhow, anywhere. Just let me know when. He has been dodging me at this point. He's been avoiding because I don't think he wants to talk about the facts. And I'll be honest, every single day I'm live streaming and I'm giving you the data of his consistent failures over the past 5 years. He's failed to solve the problem with knife crime. It's at nightmare proportions. He's failed to build the 400,000 affordable homes that he said he would. He broke his promises. He's only built 12,000. He failed to do the right thing for our transport system. The TfL has gone bankrupt nearly twice, and he's raising congestion charges, increasing the ULEZ zones, coming up with these LTNs that hurt us, and he hasn't found a way to get London back to work, which will strengthen all things. I was taking a taxi cab ride home the other night, and I spoke with Isa, who's a black cab driver, originally from Somalia. Big shout out there. And he said, Brian, he said, name one thing the mayor has done in 5 years. Name one thing. He said, that's why you're going to win. And honestly, between the two of us, we couldn't name a single thing that he's accomplished in 5 years. And I think on May 6th, the polls are going to show that London wants a new direction, new ideas, and that's what we plan to be. So again, if you're here with me now, leave me a comment right now and answer the question. Tell me what borough you're in, what challenge do you face? Are you frustrated by these LTNs and these congestion charge expansions? And do we need to lead London in a new direction? I want to start off and talk about some of the local issues here, because we're going through Hammersmith and Fulham as we speak, and they too are frustrated with these low traffic neighborhoods. And just recently, the Daily Mail posted or published this article that said that Hammersmith and Fulham Council is accused of being quote unquote greedy after expanding an LTM scheme, fining drivers £130 for entering a neighborhood without a permit. Imagine that, £130 fine. And this, I think, is why Mark was so frustrated in Ealing when he voiced over his concerns to me when I was there on Tuesday this week. He said, Brian, I'm being fined from trying to visit my grandmother and take care of her. These are people that are frustrated because their leaders aren't in touch and their grand scheme plans are actually penalizing the citizens, and they don't have the extra £130 to pay to the government in these difficult times. And the Daily Mail article continues and says, quote, motorists have been badly affected, facing hours in gridlock as a result of road changes and road works, which have made driving a nightmare experience. So Hammersmith, we feel you. We're trying to change this, and I will rethink all of the low traffic neighborhoods when I become your next mayor. We will start on May 7th. Also, Hammersmith knows how frustrating the Hammersmith Bridge closure has been. Since 2019, this main artery to get people into London has been closed, and all we see is a two-party blame game. That's all we see. I see the Conservative candidate who shows up next to the bridge and puts out a video and blames Khan. I see the Mayor of London trying to blame Boris, and meanwhile, we all suffer. We suffer with the £140 million potential solution, and we suffer because they continue to pass those costs on to us. What I want is a solution. And I come from 30 years in the business industry. I've worked in aerospace, I've worked in automotive, I've worked in finance at Wall Street and in the City of London. I've worked in technology startup, I've worked in new media and digital education. And I know if you empower private enterprise, we can find solutions. And honestly, there's already an entrepreneur out there that says we can put in some ferry services, even temporarily, to ease the load on that bridge. But again, the government hasn't engaged because I think they don't know how to cut a business deal. I don't think they know how to engage with private enterprise. I do, and I want to find some solutions for Hammersmith and for Fulham. So thank you for those ideas and those comments. Next, we go to Kensington and Chelsea. And again, recently the Daily Mail reported that the Transport Secretary said he would press ahead with the widely hated cycle-friendly road schemes, as he told the other MPs that the majority were very good. And we're hearing something completely different on the streets, quite honestly. The Transport Secretary continued and said He insisted that these pop-up cycle lanes, the widening of the pavements, and the road closures brought in under the so-called low-traffic neighborhood schemes were mostly popular. Now, I've been live streaming every single day here for the past 3 or 4 days talking about these issues. Trust me, they're not popular. People are not feeling them. They're ruining businesses. They're raising people's taxation. They're increasing emissions. It's not working out. And again, the Daily Mail goes on to say that it sparked fury with reports of emergency service vehicles trapped in traffic, increased rush hour gridlock, and residents saying they were not consulted on the plans, and they weren't. And that's one of the things I've discovered, one of the key issues I've discovered on this entire tour is that people are frustrated locally with the LTNs and they need solutions. And again, on May 7th, as your next mayor of London, I am going to look into these LTNs, and we are going to put these on hold until we can make sure that they are delivering the KPIs, the key performance indicators that they promised. Also in Kensington and Chelsea, we've seen these pop-up cycle lanes cost nearly £700,000. And because they were implemented, they were removed, and then they were reinstated again. And if you're on Kensington High Street, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen them change their mind over and over again. Meanwhile, we get a £700,000 bill that we can't afford to pay right now because we can't work and our businesses are going out of business. So many Kensington residents oppose the cycle lanes because of the congestion it charged, while some shop owners have actually suggested that the lanes cause a loss of revenue since they take the place of street parking where their customers come from. So again, more frustration from Kensington and Chelsea. Finally, they are calling on Hammersmith and Fulham to remove their LTN scheme, saying that their scheme has created congestion and pollution in Chelsea, asking them to quote unquote abandon their failed traffic scheme in SW6. So again, we see knock-on effects on a local basis. It's frustrating for everyone. And finally, in Westminster, we see parking fines are being used as revenue generation schemes to run Westminster Council as a profit. Again, top line numbers here, these are hard to believe. Westminster generated a £70 million profit last year. Kensington and Chelsea realized a £39 million profit, and Camden made a £29 million profit. Again, I find this hard to believe. This is the same flawed logic that the mayor is using with congestion charges. It was never designed to generate revenue, and yet that is actually what the mayor is doing. I had a conversation with a senior member of TfL recently. One of them was actually involved in the initial congestion charge move back in the early 2000s, and he said, Brian, the congestion charge was never designed to generate revenue. It was designed to try to reduce emissions and remove traffic. He said, but what is the mayor doing? He said, this is all off the record, but it was never designed for this. And yet the mayor is extending it and increasing it to 24/7. He's trying to make money off the citizens when we're all struggling, and I think this is wrong. So I want to get your thoughts on this. Again, leave me your questions wherever you're at, and we're going to go to somebody on Zoom as well. Tell me, what borough do you live in? What is the biggest challenge that you're facing? Also, tell me, let me get my questions up here. Are you frustrated with these low traffic neighborhoods, the congestion charge, the increases and the expansions, the traffic and parking fines? And are you frustrated in how the mayor is using these and the citizens to raise money? Is he totally out of touch with the citizens? Next, do you think that we should be allowed to campaign digitally? And do you believe that free and fair elections will happen on May 6th? And finally, do you think we need new leadership, new vision, and new ideas to take London in a new direction? I'm going to your comments right now, and there are a lot of them coming through. And again, I'm going to pull someone up here on video really quick here. Appreciate these coming in. I got Purcell Freak 1 on Instagram saying I'm a cyclist and the temp cycle lanes do not work. Wow, that's a powerful comment from a cyclist themselves saying they don't work. I appreciate your honesty. And again, I think there are solutions here. We've just got to have the key performance indicators, and we need politicians that are in touch with the neighborhoods themselves and the implementation of their grand schemes. I've got Ray Howell on Instagram that says, you're the man for the job. Thank you, Ray. We appreciate that. We're so excited. There has been a groundswell of support for our campaign. The truth is we are the only person who can beat Sadiq Khan, and that's what we plan to do on May 6th. I got Boris Zaharev on YouTube that says, what are your plans for getting live performances back up and running, and what support can you offer the broader hospitality industry? You know, Boris, we're going by the Hammersmith Odeon today. That's a great venue. I've been there to watch live shows in the past. I spoke with John Graham, who is the chairman of the Theatres Trust, on my show London Real about 6 months ago, and he said, Brian, I'm frustrated because we have a solution of how we can safely get people back into the theaters, but the mayor is not listening to us. We know we can do it, but we need a certain critical mass of people in the theater, and this is how we think we can do it, but we're not having any politicians help us with solutions. All they want to do is shut us down, put fear into the citizens, and I appreciated John's thoughts, and I want to find a way to get our hospitality sector back. We can do it safely. Again, the hospitality sector itself is only responsible for 3% of COVID transmissions. That's according to Public Health England's own data. And we want to safely get that industry back as soon as possible. It's responsible for 15% of our GDP, employing some 10 million plus people here in the UK. Let's make it happen. A few other comments coming through here as well, and I appreciate them coming in. I've got Dean here saying, keep up the good work, Brian. It's about time someone came along with some common sense, and I appreciate you that as well. I got James who says, what are your plans for the congestion charge and removal of cycle lanes? James, I'm proposing a congestion charge holiday for 6 months. We drop all of these charges to zero in order to get as many people into central London as possible to kickstart this economy. When we strengthen the economy, we will strengthen all things. The councils won't have to try to come up with these LTN taxes to make money. They'll make money because the economy improves. As far as cycle lanes, I'm all for cycling. I cycled when I ran my Ironman race 3 years ago. I had to cycle in London to train for that race. I get it with cyclists, but we have to do it in an intelligent way. The cycle lanes can't prohibit business. They can't cause congestion. They can't charge more emissions. So let's find a middle ground where we can all interact together. It's not happening right now, and the mayor is not offering these solutions either. So a couple more questions here as well, and then I'm going to go to Zoom hopefully and get a video call from one of you guys. I've got Dina Roney on YouTube saying, I'm in Cardiff. I wish I could vote for you. Wish you the absolute best. And I've got Seds on Instagram that's saying, you take the time to listen to the people. And like I was telling Bill Dodd yesterday on RT, it's really important that I'm out here. I'm going by the Thames right now. It's a beautiful day. I think we got a view of the Hammersmith Bridge that's been closed now. And again, the two-party political system is bouncing it back and forth, blaming each other. Meanwhile, the citizens of this city pay while they do their politicking. Business as usual, they have their careers in politics, and we never see the changes happen. I'm going by some houseboats here. I was actually at this houseboat right here speaking with Simon Woodruff, the founder of Yo Sushi, about 6 months ago, and I was on the ground finding out what are the entrepreneurs struggling with. And Simon talked to me about what he struggles with, what Yo Sushi was struggling with. After I spoke with him, I went to Peter Dorr-Smith, who runs a coffee bar chain called Caffeine in Fitzrovia, and he told me what he was struggling with. He said, Brian, I need more cooperation from the council. We need leadership that wants to help us get back to work. And again, I have spoken to and interviewed more leaders in business, in the theaters, in tourism, and in travel than the mayor of London has in the past 6 months. And I'm willing to take the Pepsi challenge with him on that. Who have you been talking to? Who have you actually interacted with? Between my show, London Real, and everything I've been doing to be your next mayor of London, I've spoken with more stakeholders that really matter. That includes economists like David Miles from Imperial College. I've spoken with top-level people from the Bank of England. I've spoken with top-level people in the Metropolitan Police, top-level people at TfL. They all believe that my plan to get London back to work is the way forward, and I know it is as well. So a couple more comments coming in here as well. I got Sandy Litter on YouTube says, I've been following Brian for over 5 years. I believe he's a force for good and is a decent guy and has provided me much value over the years. Thanks, Brian. Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that. A lot of you only know me as the next mayor of London, but I've actually been doing this broadcasting thing for about 10 years. My show London Real, I've been serving the public. We've got 500 million views, over 1,000 conversations we broadcast for free in order to help people with their lives and help people live better lives. And as the next mayor of London, I'm just going to do the same thing as well. So a couple more comments coming in here as well. And I'm guessing we might have a Zoom coming in as well. So cool. Just give me that person's name. I'll be going to that too. Let me read out a couple more comments. I got Dina Roney on YouTube that says, I'm in Cardiff. Wish I could vote for you. Wish you the absolute best. Thank you, Dina. I appreciate you. You know what? Anyone around the world can support us right now. Go in for our website, brianformayor.london. You can share our assets. You can print out our posters. I know Anna over in Wood Green has a Brian for Mayor poster she printed out and is stuck in her window. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. A lot of people are sharing our videos, sharing our assets, share our interview yesterday on RT, share our video of being stopped by the police, share our message. So I appreciate that. You can come on our website and get some Brian for Mayor swag, coffee cups, t-shirts, everything. And you can support us. Honestly, this is a global movement. We're talking about issues that face everyone in London. We're talking about issues that affect everyone in the UK. We're talking about issues that affect people all over the world. So let's show the world how we can do it. And we got our first live video question coming in via Zoom. It's coming from Naphtali, and I'm going to switch over here to this tech right now and put you on my speaker. And Naphtali, I want you to ask me your question, and then I'm going to come back to you. So go ahead and ask me.
Hello, Brian. It's very nice to meet you. My question is, what is the roadmap out of lockdown? And the reason why I ask this is because as of yet, we haven't actually heard any information on how we're going to get out of lockdown from Boris's government. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on what your plan is.
Excellent stuff. Cool, let me kill my volume here. First of all, thank you for that question. And again, I appreciate a hard question. That's what I like more than anything. So thank you for that, I appreciate it. And again, Naphtali was asking, what is the roadmap out of this? And it's one of the things that frustrates me the most, because the current mayor of London, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, has not shown us any roadmap out of this. And honestly, the bane of every entrepreneur is uncertainty. You have to show them a roadmap out of this. And I think it was Steve Baker, who's one of the Tory backbenchers in Parliament. I think he's the head of the COVID recovery group. And he said to the Prime Minister, he said, Boris, he said, if you locked us down based on a forecast, then why can't you open us up based on a forecast? We see a lot of positive information coming in, and yet I couldn't even tell you when my 16-year-old daughter is allowed to go back to school. I couldn't tell you when I personally, as an entrepreneur, am allowed to, invest in my business, because I don't know when you're going to shut it down again. We need a clear roadmap out of this, and as the next mayor of London, I am going to communicate and over-communicate with our business community. Also, the congestion charge holiday down to 0 for 6 months is going to kickstart business. I'm going to drop business rates down to 0 for 6 months, because how can you tax an entrepreneur or a businessman when they're struggling just to stay in business? The latest report is that 250,000 SMEs, these are small and medium-sized enterprises responsible for 98% of the GDP here in London, could potentially go out of business unless direct action is taken. Unfortunately, the current mayor of London, in my opinion, he's anti-business. He wants to tax businesses. If you remember, he crusaded for this lockdown when other mayors, like the mayor of Manchester, were fighting tooth and nail for their entrepreneurs, for their pub owners, to try to keep their livelihoods. This mayor was trying to lock us all down. He doesn't understand business. He's never run a business in his life. He's an 18-year career politician. He's using this as his next job to be prime minister. I don't think he cares about the citizens. I don't think he understands business. He's never done a deal in his life. He's never bought a company, sold a company. He's never held a board meeting. We need someone who's business friendly. Again, I've been doing this for 30 years in all sorts of industries. And so again, it's clear communication with entrepreneurs. It's the business rates holiday. It's the congestion charge holiday, and it's finding solutions to get London back to work. We can do this safely. Let's protect those vulnerable, but let's also get those that are fit, safe, and healthy back to work in some capacity. It's going to help our mental health. We got to get our kids back in school. And again, if you want more detail, I have 12 very specific policies and 12 policy videos all on my brianformayor.london site. So I appreciate that question. Thank you for coming to us today. Let me get on to my second couple points. I'm coming back for more questions shortly. So stay with me here, because I want to come out and find out what's going on with you. Let me talk a little bit more about what people are frustrated with out there, and that is these LTNs, these low traffic neighborhoods. And you probably would have seen them. All of a sudden you wake up one day and there's something that looks like a wooden plant potter stuck at the end of your road you weren't consulted with, and all of a sudden it's blocking people from visiting you, it's blocking you from going to work, you're getting fined when you try to, ambulances can't get in your area, businesses are going out of business, and yet people are driving sometimes 3 times longer to get to where they need to go, and it increases emissions. People are frustrated because they weren't consulted with, they're being taxed on the back of it, ambulance services can't get in there, and businesses are failing, and also they're getting more congestion and more emissions. It's frustrating, and the residents have complained there's been a lack of explanation, a lack of engagement, a lack of consultation, as they are literally, quote unquote, steamrolled through these schemes. It's frustrating for them, and it's frustrating for me. Also, it prevents local people from visiting their family, even within their support bubble. It keeps them from attending work and attending medical appointments. When I was in Ealing a few days ago, people were shouting over, I can't get to see my doctor. I can't care for my elderly. It was really frustrating to them. The worst part is, for me, is that this appears to be a revenue generating scheme. And this is where I draw the line. You cannot tax your citizens in order to make a profit, especially in a time of economic contraction. When I studied economics at MIT, this was Economics 101. You cannot tax the businesses and citizens when the economy is contracting and expect to get out of that hole. It's basically going to close itself in a loop, and it ends in bankruptcy and despair. We've got to find a way out of it, and generating revenue on the back of it is not okay. Lambeth Council, for example, has already issued more than £1 million of fines just because of low traffic neighborhoods, and there's more boroughs that have already racked up 7 figures in fines. Again, this seems to be completely defeating the purpose, but you see the mayor doing the same thing with congestion charge being expanded to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, going up from £11.50 to £15. Expanding the congestion charge zone out to Richmond, with those citizens up in arms about that. The ULEZ that's almost being snuck in, and a lot of people are paying a lot of money in these ULEZ fees, and they're being extended as well, and people are frustrated. And the reason I know is this: I get comments on every single video, I get live comments here, and the people are not happy about it. Especially emergency services point out that logistically it's literally, it's killing people. They cannot save people in time. And the last thing I want to say about this is a flat tax, which means, for example, a £15 congestion charge, you might be earning £20,000 a year, £40,000 a year, or £200,000 a year. The problem is that the flat tax hurts lower income families worse. And that is the wrong thing to do, especially in this situation. And so it actually gets worse. Disabled people can't access what they need to access, and researchers recently found that 72% of those questioned were critical the way that LTNs were introduced and the way that they were informed by town hall bosses about them. And the report, called Pave the Way, published this month, also found that 77% believed their journey times or those of their carers had in fact increased because of LTMs. Again, this is defeating the purpose. It's taxing our citizens. And I'll be honest, it's probably one of the single most important issues for Londoners as I'm out there. Of course, they're frustrated with the nightmare proportion of knife crime thanks to the mayor. They're frustrated with him bankrupting our TfL nearly twice. They're frustrated that he's only built 3% of the affordable homes that he promised. But honestly, it's this congestion charge extension, these LTNs, that really frustrate him a lot. And I think I'm down here in Chelsea, at the square here, going through here. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful sunny day, and I just want to say thanks for having me. I'm on Sloane Square is where I am, going up Sloane Street right now. Spent a lot of time in this neighborhood, did a lot of time shopping here back in the day, and I want to say just being out here makes all the difference, and I appreciate everybody streaming live. This is a new way of politics. We are transparent with you. You can ask us questions in real time, and I'll be reading out your comments now. So let me go back to you. Answer these questions for me. What borough do you live in? What's your biggest challenge? And what question would you like to ask me when I visit? Next time, tell me, and be honest. Are you frustrated with these low traffic neighborhoods? Are you frustrated with the congestion charge increase and expansion? Are you frustrated with traffic and parking fines? And are you frustrated on how the mayor uses the citizens to raise money? It just doesn't make sense to me. And is he totally out of touch with the citizens of this city? Next, do you believe that we will have free and fair elections on May 6th? It looks like it's going forward, but are they going to stop us from campaigning? And finally, do you think we need new leadership, new ideas, and to take London in a new direction? I want to go to your comments now. And there's a lot of comments. This could be our busiest day ever here on the back of the battle bus, and I appreciate all of you. I got Diego Felipe on YouTube that says, where the hell do you find so much personal energy to keep fighting every single day? Man, I don't know where to find it. You know, Diego, it's a great question. Sometimes my team asks me this. Sometimes I ask myself. The answer is this. I spent 40 years of my life being a very selfish person. I was just looking after Brian, looking after Brian's accomplishments. When I was on Wall Street, how much money could Brian make? And when I turned 40, I realized I was alone and miserable, and my life didn't mean anything. And for the last 10 years of my life, I've dedicated to producing value to other people, to serving my community through London Real, through mentoring in London, and now through being the next mayor of London. And quite honestly, Diego, it's given me so much energy that it's hard to explain sometimes. I just feel like every day I have a real purpose when I get up in the morning. Also, I've changed a lot of my habits, so now I get sleep every day. I physically train every day. I eat right every day. I spend time with my family every day. and hopefully I serve the citizens of London every day, and it feels great. So quite honestly, the energy comes from you, Diego. It comes from everybody here on the broadcast. It comes from everyone here that's sharing my video right now, liking this video, leaving me a comment. People on the streets shout out, Brian, we're with you 100% of the way. I mean, people honking their horns, bus drivers stopping me, taxi drivers stopping me. It's amazing. So honestly, I'm honored to serve you. I'm blessed, and I promise to work 24/7 as your next mayor of London. And we're going to keep this live streaming and transparency going every single day I'm in City Hall. That's a promise I give to you. All right, some more comments coming in here. We got Scousey Reddit on YouTube that says, quote, I don't like the Labour messages and the cowardice of the Conservatives. I like what I hear from your campaign. I hope that you'll be willing to admit weaknesses and don't bow to Twitter mobs. Scousey, that's a great question. I appreciate your honesty. I feel the same way about the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. Honestly, the more I learn about politics, the more it disgusts me. I don't like the way they sign off on each other's failures. I don't like the tens of millions of pounds in corporate donations. I don't like the backroom deals. I don't like these career politicians. Honestly, this is the last thing I probably need to do for the next 3 years of my life, but I can't sit by and watch the city I love be run into the ground by the current crop of politicians. So I'm going to put London Real on hold. I'm going to put my personal life on hold, my family on hold, and serve you as mayor. And again, I'm all about the best idea wins. It can come from someone from the Labour government or the Tory government or the Green Party or the Lib Dems. I don't care. The best idea wins, but it's got to be vetted by the experts. It's got to be vetted with you, the citizens. We all have to think it's a good idea, and then we implement. So I will be transparent. As far as succumbing to Twitter mobs, look, I've been on social media for quite a few years, 10 years now. I got 5 million subscribers, 500 million views. They're not always happy. And so I've dealt with a lot of that. What I've learned is this one thing. I have a compass. I know where I'm going. And I love feedback, but I also like a direction in place, and I will continue going in that direction. So thank you. It's a great comment. Keep these comments coming in. Again, tell me what challenge you're facing, and we're going to be going to a live video chat coming in soon. I've got Patrick Cullinson on YouTube. It says, good luck, Brian. You will be a great mayor. Thank you very much so much. I got Thelma without a name, great name, on YouTube that says, right on, breath of fresh air, give the man a chance. I like Brian. Thank you very much so much. I got Ibrahimovic on Instagram that says, where did you get your suit? You know, a lot of people ask me about my suits. My suit comes from a man named John Kent, who is a tailor in Savile Row. John Kent has been making suits for 50, 60 years probably. He is an incredible man. He is a gem. He comes from the East End. He worked his way up through the garment industry. He's become a good friend. I've hosted him on my show, London Real, and told his story to the world, so go check him out. He is the salt of the earth. He's also 100% Brian for Mayor supporter. He said, Brian, get this guy out of office. He's not doing anything good for businessmen. And that's where I get my suits from. John also happens to, make suits for the members of the royal family, and he does a very good job, and I appreciate John. And again, to be honest, I've gone out of my way during these difficult times to order more suits from John because I want to support him as a local business. And if we lose John Kent, we lose literally hundreds of years of British tailoring experience on Savile Row. And that's what frustrates me most about what the mayor is doing. He's ruining London businesses that give London its culture and character. The reason people come to London is because the independent black taxi driver. The reason people come to London is for people like John Kent. The reason people come to London is for restaurants like the Wolseley. These places are being driven out of business by the current mayor of London because he doesn't care about entrepreneurs, he doesn't understand business, and he's given us no roadmap out of the future. So I support local businesses and go out of your way to support them. And a big shout out to John Kent for everything he does. Go buy a suit from that man. It's great value. And that's what I do here. So I've got a live video call coming in here. It's from Christian Cornell. It's the next Zoom call. He's a firefighter. I'm going to go to you right now, Christian, on my piece here. I really appreciate you. Let me get my volume up here and ask me your question, Christian.
Hi, Brian. Wow, what a surprise. Just wanted to ask you what your plans are for the London Fire Brigade. We're facing a load of cuts from the current mayor system. Nearly 70 million, I believe. So I was just wondering what your plans are for that.
Great. We'll just kill this audio here. Thank you, Christian. I appreciate that. It's a great question. And again, Christian works in the London Fire Brigade, and he said, what is the plan? What is the plan for our fire brigade? And he made reference to the recent defunding of the fire brigade. And you might have heard recently that the mayor of London recently defunded the police by £110 million. At the same time, he quietly cut 25 million pounds from the fire brigade. And we all know the fire brigade is crucial when it comes to responding to a lot of the big issues we have here, including fires, those like the Grenfell tragedy. And I was going through Enfield a couple days ago, and some of the residents there reminded me that still 150 buildings in London, still nearly 4 years later after Grenfell, still have that same cladding. And I think it's 200,000 Londoners are living in fear because they don't know what's going to happen. And when they hear the mayor defund the fire brigade by 25 million pounds, they're not going to sleep any better. And I think we have to always make sure that we fund the fire brigade, that we fund the Metropolitan Police. And I was having a conversation with a senior Metropolitan Police officer, and he said, Brian, it all comes down to pounds, pence, and shilling. He said, if you can find the money, we can get more police on the streets. We can start going after knife crime. If you can find the money, we can fund the fire brigade. And he said, what we need is someone to have a creative way to look at finances in the city. And I said, look, you've found the right guy, because I spent 30 years in industry. Like I said, I've worked in automotive, to aerospace, to finance, to tech startup. And I have a way of looking at this city through a business lens. First of all, we've got to get the economy kickstarted. When you strengthen the economy, you strengthen all things. It's going to get everyone back in business. It's going to increase revenues for our council, increase revenues for our bankrupt TfL system, thanks to the mayor. But it's also going to give us other solutions. And I have a proposal I'll be dropping in the next 2 weeks about how TfL can not only not go bankrupt again, which is what the current mayor is going to do. He's going to go ask for a few more billion pounds in March from the national government because he still can't run that. But I'm talking about a way that TfL can run a profit. I'm talking about a way that we can get corporate donations into our community centers to give our teenagers alternatives to going into things that result in knife crime. And I'm talking about ways that we can find budget for the police force and the fire brigade, but you have to look at this from a business sense. There's actually a precedent for this. This was done by Jamal Edwards in Acton, where he got Google to cut a £100,000 check for their community center. There's precedents of this where the Tokyo transport system actually runs at a profit because they found the way for the transport system to get reimbursed for the value they create from their transport networks. Look at Canary Wharf. Look at all those high rises there. Those were empowered by the Jubilee line. How come the TfL hasn't seen some of that revenue? And I have other solutions to fund the fire brigade and the police as well, because I know you can't just keep squeezing the budget. And the last thing we need, quite honestly, Christian, is another politician promising you things he can't pay for. I know how to pay for these things, and I'll be dropping the exact budget numbers shortly, so thank you for your comments. All right, I'm going to go to my last point. Again, there will be one last chance for all of you to leave your comments. I'm loving these video questions, so thank you to everybody for being here on Zoom. Again, if you want to get the next invite for our video calls, go to brianfromair.london, sign up, we'll get your email, and we'll send that out to you as well. Lastly, I want to talk about something that's on everyone's mind, especially in the boroughs I'm going through today, and that is parking fines. They are being used as a revenue when he's failing to run TfL. And let's be honest, TfL was failing before COVID happened. It was already going bankrupt before. And yet he's using this congestion charge increase to fill up the black holes in his budget, and he's still defunding the police and the fire brigades. If you look at some of these boroughs, and again, I want to highlight this because I think it's unacceptable, the same thing's happening in these boroughs. So in 2020, the profit made by London councils comes to a total of £445 million. That's a profit. And there's something that seems wrong to me about that, because if you look at Westminster Council, it made a profit of £69.6 million. That's nearly double the second highest borough, Kensington and Chelsea, which we're going through right now, which made £38.8 million profit. Of course, my borough of Camden, where I live in, made a profit of £29 million, which was up 11.6% on the previous year of 2019. Now, call me crazy, but in 2020, we suffered a GDP contraction of 11%. That's massive, by the way. And yet, our councils are taxing our citizens in their time of need in order to make a profit. Something's wrong here. And in my opinion, the leadership starts at the top with the Mayor of London. And when they see him increase your congestion charges, increase the ULEZ, also jack up these LTNs and the fines there, I think they see that they can do it in their councils and not only tax the citizens, but also run a profit. You've got Steve Gooding, the director of the RAC Foundation, that said, quote, "Parking management is quite a money spinner for some local authorities. Going forward, councils should cut parking charges as a way of encouraging more people to visit their high streets, which are fighting for survival." Steve, you took the words right out of my mouth. The only way that London can survive is if we strengthen the economy. And that's why my roadmap to get London back to work is crucial. And it means that we empower people to visit these boroughs and spend the money. Why would you want to travel into London and go to a restaurant, go to a show, go to a museum, if you know, first of all, you can't get parking, second of all, you're going to be fined for parking, or maybe you can't even get to the parking space that you want to get because of one of the LTNs. It is a flawed logic, but one that is something I would expect from the current mayor of London. He comes from a background that doesn't understand business. They think business is there to be taxed and fined and prohibited, whereas I understand that London was built on business. This city was created because of commerce. The Romans didn't come here because it was necessarily a pretty place to be. They came here because that's where everybody else was. They were exchanging goods and services, exchanging ideas. That's why we're here. Oftentimes, I think the mayor forgets that. And I think these councils are being very myopic and short-sighted by trying to run these profits when they should actually be dropping those down, encouraging traffic flow, encouraging businesses, and also allowing their citizens to visit their relatives and elderly, lowering emissions, promoting business. And I think this is something we need to highlight here. So again, if you're in one of those boroughs, leave me a comment below. Tell me, do you think that is fair? We think there's something seriously flawed here. And I think you have to look to the top and where the mayor is to find a real solution for that. So again, last time I'm coming to you for questions. I think we're going by some museums here. Everything looking beautiful. I just want to thank the boroughs of Kensington and Chelsea, Hammersmith and Fulham, and of course our friends over at Westminster for having me today. I also want to thank the police for not pulling us over. We appreciate that. Again, we are campaigning in a digitally secure way, a COVID secure way, and we appreciate all the energy we're getting today. Again, this is the last chance. First of all, share this video, like this video, and leave me a question right now. If you've been watching the whole time, say, okay, Brian, I'm going to do it. Tell me, what borough do you live in? What's the challenge you're facing? What question do you want to ask me? Next, tell me, are you frustrated with these low traffic neighborhoods, congestion charge increases and expansions, traffic and parking fines, and how the mayor is using citizens to raise the money? Do you think he's totally out of touch with the citizens? And again, we're going by some museums here. I think we got Victoria and Albert Museum right here on my right. What an incredible museum. And I see the Natural History Museum up there. So if my sons Caden and Damon are watching, they're 3 and 4 years old, tell them we're going to go see the dinosaur bones very soon. A couple more questions. Do you think that free and fair elections should be allowed to take place on May 6th? And should we be allowed to campaign in this COVID secure manner? And finally, be honest about this. Do you think it's time we take London in a new direction? Do you think it's time we get new ideas, new leadership? Do you think it's time we get London back to work? We use science-based decision making. Do you think it's time we finally have a proportional response to the virus? That we create innovation and education instead of using fear as a weapon like our current mayor does? Leave me your answers right now. This is your last chance. I'm going to the tapes here. There's some great comments coming through. I really appreciate everybody here. I got Suran Senevas on Instagram saying, wonderful setup. Thank you very much. It's pretty cool back here, right? This is our digital broadcasting studio. We're really proud of it. I got Primal Power on Instagram saying, you got my vote. I appreciate that. And let me just take this moment right now and say, are you registered to vote if you live in London? If you're not, go to votefirst.london right now. It'll take you 300 seconds, 5 minutes. You can register. You'll get a letter from the council on May 6th. And we've been told today that we will be voting on May 6th. You got to bring your own COVID secure pen, but you can come to the polling station and you can vote for change. Vote Brian for mayor, and we really appreciate you. So thank Primal Power. I appreciate you. We got Leon Knight on Instagram. It says legend. Thank you very much. Again, I feel empowered by all of you, so we should all take credit. I got Hubert on Instagram. It says, hey Brian, could you mention the importance of meditation, self-care practices, and spiritual practice? Gratitude. Thank you, Hubert. You know what? Mental health is so important for our city. Most of us are struggling with mental health. Again, type in right now, yes, if you're struggling from your mental health. I'd like to hear from everyone right now. We've done entire episodes about how our younger generation is struggling with mental health, how self-harm is up, how suicides are up. By the way, going by Imperial College London here, some great work being done there on these topics. Tell me if you're struggling with that. I am all about how can we make our health better. I've got a whole policy called Health First where we invest in our physical health, our mental health. And again, I have been using a meditation practice for a long time. It's probably what gives me all this energy. I have a physical practice every single day. I think right now the citizens of London and the citizens of the UK could be investing in their health proactively. It would actually build our immune systems. It would probably help in times of pandemic. And yet we don't get that message from the mayor. I never see him talking about that. And let's be honest, I never see him doing that. And I raised 2 young boys, and let me tell you one thing. They don't do what I say, they do what I do. We need a mayor of this city that actually demonstrates he has a physical practice, that he has a mental practice, that demonstrates he's financially responsible, that demonstrates he can hold people accountable, that demonstrates he understands business. I do all those things, and it's going to be very important to me as mayor. Again, I've got 12 detailed policies on my website, brianformayor.london. Health first is one of them. So thank you so much for bringing that up. I got Michael Spencer on YouTube that says, quote, "It would be great for the next mayor to be neither Labor nor conservative." You took the words right out of my mouth, Michael. I appreciate that. I think it's time we need some new ideas. I think we need a fresh perspective. Let's just get away from the 2-party system for a while. I think they are stuck in their old ways. I think they can't even embrace ideas, even though they're obvious that they're going to work. I think they've got a lot of conflicting interests. I think they have corporate sponsors. Like I said, backroom deals, committees, there's a lot of history there, and we don't have any of that. My ideas come from my brain, they come from the experts I consult with, and they come from you when I talk to you about them. That's it. The best idea wins, and we will always do that with you as well. A couple more comments, and we're going to go live on Zoom very soon here. I got Sajdev Jagdeet on Instagram that says, "Please run London like a business." And Sajdev, it seems like you understood my message. Let's run this city like a business. Imagine what we could do. And by the way, I've got the beautiful Royal Albert Hall on my left, and I've got the golden Prince Albert here on my right. I love this area of London. We got Hyde Park. I got people out there hitting pads and staying fit. It's a beautiful day in London. This is a beautiful city. The future is bright, especially if we get some new leadership and new ideas. I love this area. I love London. What can I say? And it's great to be here through here. And thank you for understanding that business is very important. All right, we're going to our next video caller. It's Sunil. So I'm going to click in here. Sunil, tell me, what is your question? Let me come over to you right now and go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Rose. First of all, I would like to tell you that I really enjoy that you gave us the opportunity, that you are very approachable. So thank you for that. So basically, congestion charge, I wanted to ask you about, you said 6 months you are going to give holidays for congestion charge, which is greatly appreciated. But what about after 6 months? With same thing, like up to 6 o'clock or 24 hours or 10 o'clock? What are your plans about that?
Okay, great questions. Great questions. Let me just rehash that. And again, I appreciate you, Sunil, for coming in here. His question was about the congestion charge. First of all, I could feel the frustration in your voice, as in the congestion charges are obviously affecting you, affecting probably your income and your family. And so again, you were very optimistic about the idea of the congestion charge holiday for 6 months. But again, Sunil's asking me a hard question. I appreciate that. What happens after 6 months, Brian? It's okay for them to drop everything to zero, but what happens after? And that's a great question. First of all, let's talk about why we're dropping the congestion charge. Again, it's not like I want more vehicles in here polluting, but what I do understand is I understand business, I understand the economy, and I understand that London is ultimately a place that thrives and only thrives when business is thriving. And so when we drop the congestion charge to zero, we inject commerce into this city, and it needs it so badly. Otherwise, this recovery could take 10 years. So the reason we're dropping it is to get as much footfall into this city so people can spend, we can get theaters open, museums open, restaurants and cafes, businesses open, people back in here doing business to kickstart this economy. I think we could lead the world when it comes to a city getting back on its feet. Longer term, I think we have to look at the congestion charge in 2 ways. Again, it was originally put into place to manage cars, traffic flow, and emissions in the city, and it's something I'm very concerned about. Again, I've got a Green First initiative that you can go to brianformayor.london and learn about. Like I said, I cycled when I trained for my Ironman race. I ran through Hampstead Heath. I exercise every single day, and so pollution is something that's on my mind as well, and we have to manage the traffic flow that comes in this city. But we can't use, in my opinion, this congestion charge flat tax because it penalizes people too much. And the problem with that and the ULEZ is that some people now are going to be charged an additional £3,000 and £4,000 because of the ULEZ and the ULEZ extension just to get into town. Residents in Richmond are now being told the congestion charge is now going to stop them from moving around. And so it's a fine line between promoting the economy and also promoting the environment. And what we need to do is find a solution. It's not a hard thing to do, but the flat congestion charge is the wrong thing. The 24/7 congestion charge is the wrong thing. And so we're gonna have to find a way to scale it back to where it's happening during business hours, where it's affecting people the proper way. And this is the most important thing, Sunil. It has to follow the KPIs we set in place. So as your next mayor of London, when I come up with a policy, I'm not just going to say we're going to have LTNs and that's the blanket policy. And like our transport secretary, it seems to be the majority of people like it. That's not the way you implement a policy. You have a policy and then you have 3-month KPIs, 6-month KPIs, 12-month, 24-month. How are the citizens feeling? What's happening with businesses? What's happening with taxation? What's happening with emissions? What's happening with emergency services? Is it working? And is it overall helping people or hurting people? Because if I kickstart the economy, but you're still busy paying £6,000 in congestion and ULEZ charges, then it's defeated the purposes. So ultimately, is the citizen of London winning is what I want to know. The last thing I'll say on that is this. The reason the mayor increased your congestion charge and extended your congestion charge is because he bankrupted his own Transport for London. And as I said earlier, he did this before COVID happened. It was already going bankrupt because he hasn't found a way to actually run TfL at a profit. I found a way where the TfL can actually run with excess money, which means we won't have to lean on the congestion charge as a revenue generator. Like I said, I spoke with the senior person in TfL who told me, Brian, the congestion charge was never supposed to be used to generate revenue, and that's what's happening right now, and that's why you're feeling the struggle, Sunil. So are you, and so many other drivers and people trying to do in business. So we've got to stop that. But again, finding business solutions for London is how we can help the TfL. It's how we can build affordable homes. It's how we can fund our police. It's how we can fund our fire brigade. And it's how ultimately how we're going to get London back to work. So I appreciate that very much. Let me just see if there's a last couple of few comments here. I've got, let me see here. I've got Carrie here on Instagram that says, how can people who live outside of London support you? It's a great question, Carrie. Go to brianformayor.london. You can share our page, you can download our assets, you can get some swag here, coffee cups, you can volunteer to help us. The Brian for Mayor Army is going to start being mobilized next week with our entire volunteer effort. So if you want to volunteer or you know someone that does, share this video, tell them, go to brianformayor.london/volunteer and you can sign up. We're going to have an entire process to mobilize the citizens of London. So on May 6th, we make this happen. So great question. Thank you. A couple left. I got Devish T on Instagram saying Brian will be the next mayor of London. I appreciate you, and we believe that too. We really do. We are currently in second place. I think the bookies have it wrong. We should be in first place right now. A lot of them just don't understand what we're doing here on the streets, because why would they? We are running a completely different kind of campaign. We are running a 21st century campaign in the digital world, digitally enabled, and the people know we are going to win, and we appreciate that. A couple more comments here. I've got Lady Aya on Instagram saying, at the moment, it is impossible to make deliveries with a van in London, and while doing deliveries, you get fined, which costs a whole day's work. Lady Ia, I know what you're saying. This is exactly what I'm hearing when I travel to these councils and to these neighborhoods. They are frustrated because the government is taxing them when they're trying to survive in this economy. I promise you, we will solve this problem and we will continue listening to the communities. LTNs have to be reconsidered entirely, and we're going to do that on May 7th when we become your next mayor. A couple more questions. I got Cam London on Instagram saying, Brian, you are on the ball. You need to be heard. Thank you. Share this video. Let people know. And I got Nick Hubble on YouTube that's saying, hope you get voted in. You're a top bloke. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you. And I just want to finish by saying we have the solutions to these crises. We have the solutions. The main one is to get London back to work. When we strengthen the economy, we strengthen all things. I've worked in business and the industry for 30 years. When I was 19 years old, I had my first job at Ford Motor Company in the automotive industry. I went on to aerospace. When I was 22, I moved to Wall Street. I worked in the City of London in finance. I've worked in tech startup. I've worked in new media. I've worked in digital education. And I know how to support business in London. And let's be honest, London was built on business. And if we can look at it through this lens, everything will be strengthened. Our councils won't have to cook up these LTN schemes to tax the citizens to make money. Our TfL won't go bankrupt. We'll have the money we can use for our police force, for our fire brigade, and also building affordable homes. These are top on my list. And we've got to find a solution to the knife crime, which the current mayor has completely ignored. We have the solutions. We have the support from you. We have the digital networks to stream live with you in a completely transparent manner. And in 90 days, we plan to be the next mayor of London. But let's be honest, it's going to be difficult. Some people have said the system is rigged against us. I don't know if that's true, but I do know it's going to take every single one of us to fight. So make sure you register to vote. Tell your friends. Share these videos. Tell them what we're doing. Come to our website. Support, share, let people know. And I just want to say we're super excited. Big thank you to the boroughs of Kensington and Chelsea, the boroughs of Hammersmith and Fulham, the borough of Westminster for having us today. Big thank you to the police officers everywhere who do a very difficult job, what they do every day, and who were involved in what I think was a political situation when they had to stop us and detain us and fine us the other day. Again, we respect the difficult job they have to do, and we moved forward and made sure we continue campaigning because we believe in democracy and we want free and fair elections to take place on May 6th, and they will. So thank you so much. We are going to keep going. The bus continues. We're going to keep live streaming, keep coming from you, and keep having these conversations. Let's take London in a new direction. Let's make this a world-class city once again. Let's get new ideas. Let's do the right thing. And so thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you. I am humbled, and I am here to serve you, and we look forward to doing that as your next mayor of London. So that's it for now. This has been live from the Battle Bus, and we will see you on our next broadcast. Thank you very much.